live on your tablet, phone, and the KUTV app. This is 2 News Live.
Thanks for joining us for 2 News Live. I'm Brian Schnee. Thursday, February 29th, and of course, a lot to get into. We're going in depth tonight on the latest progress in Salt Lake City's plans to host the 2034 Winter Games and the potential for the National Hockey League to make its move here to the Beehive State. As we go in depth tonight, you can always get in touch with us during the show. You can do that in many ways, but the easiest way to do so, use the hashtag 2NewsLive to join our conversation. We'd like to hear from you. Would like to get your messages on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Send a DM there if you'd like to weigh in with an opinion. This is the show to do it on. Today, a major step taken towards another potential Olympic Games here in Utah. Along with Governor Spencer Cox and Salt Lake City Mayor Aaron Mendenhall, the Salt Lake City, Utah Committee for the Games pushed the button, officially filing their preferred host submission with the International Olympic Committee. Take a look.
There we go.
What a moment. And that moment is when they solidified Utah as a preferred host for the 2034 Winter Olympics. Utah is currently the only preferred host submitted to the IOC, who was on the virtual call with everyone in the Gold Room at the Capitol. Now from here, a Utah visit from the IOC Future Host Commission will take place hopefully in April, and then an election in June, which would discuss Utah as the potential host, and the ultimate hope in the coming months that on July 24th, Pioneer Day, by the way, just before the Paris Games, that Utah will be named as the host of the 2034 Winter Olympics. It could happen sooner than we think. A milestone for the future here in Utah. Here's President of the committee, Fraser Bullock, and Board Chair and Olympian, Catherine Rainey Norman. Today is what for our hopes of 2034?
Today's a really important day. It's where we submitted our final bid file to the International Olympic Committee for their review. And so this has been a culmination of years of work and putting everything together, coming to the table with our different partners across the state and our communities, and really putting Utah forward in the best light possible.
It's the culmination of years of work, all the pieces coming together, the community coming together, political support, so that we can officially send in our submission today. It's now done. The IOC has it. Now we're on track, we hope, for an award in July.
How did you feel about what the IOC said today on this call?
I feel great. I feel great about it. You know, we are still in sport, right? You can never predict who the winners are in sport. But we feel really confident in all of the effort and the work that we've put forward. And so we are incredibly well positioned.
Well, since there's so much movement on Capitol Hill right now surrounding sports and what that looks like for the future here in Utah, I asked both of them about the NHL bill and what that venue could do for a potential Winter Olympics. What would that do for 2034 years from now?
Oh, I've been following it very closely, and it's so exciting because if we can add a whole new dimension to downtown as well as in the Power District, those would be venues we would absolutely look at using for 2034. And if they're new and have so much more opportunity for sport events, we'd be so excited.
Have you thought about what those could do for this?
Yeah, for us, you know, we're excited about what's happening here in Utah. I think a couple months ago we were at a press conference and the governor said this is sort of the golden age of Utah. And so with anything that comes up, the next 10 years are going to be really dynamic. And for us, our job is to make sure that we put on the best games possible and utilize all the different assets that we may have at that point in time. We don't know what that's going to look like, right? I wish I had a crystal ball, but we will continue to always ensure that we are putting the best games forward when it comes time.
Stay with 2 News for the very latest developments on Salt Lake City's bid to host the 2034 Winter Olympics. We outlined a timeline there, so we should be talking to you more about this in the month of April and June, of course, July. But we're always kind of looking for angles to cover this because there's so much interest in when these games could come back to Utah. You can also read all of our prior reporting right now on our website, KUTV.com. We talked about the NHL bill. Is a tax hike plan for the Jazz and NHL hockey on thin ice at the Capitol? For the second day in a row, the bill to make it happen has not moved, and the clock for action is ticking. Brian Malahy, who clearly wrote that intro for me. Brian, What's going on with this now? You've been looking into these bills a lot lately. You're joining us live from the Capitol tonight. Where are we at?
Well, let's keep the puns coming, okay? No one is saying this is a meltdown yet. However, there are apparently issues that need to be worked out. The bill is being, quote, refined, according to the Senate president, in the House. I also reached out today to the House floor sponsor and to the a lobbyist, a person who is said to be lobbying on behalf of this bill. Neither one of them called back. Put questions to Ryan Smith today. How much would he kick into the NHL project, NHL Jazz project? Of course, the Jazz would be a big component of it. And then, is it essential, or how vital is it for this bill to pass here at the Capitol for the Jazz to stay downtown? No replies there. But the thing about the Delta Center is that it is essentially development locked. You have development all the way around it. Some of it is very new. Some of it is the Gateway Mall. Some of it is owned by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So, some of it is owned by Salt Lake County, but it is development locked. And trying to start over under that scenario versus, a hayfield, as the Senate president put it today, that's a difficult task. So those may be some of the things that need to be worked out here, in addition to other issues. But what seemed to be, baseball and hockey on a fast track, baseball gets through on the fast track. Hockey has slowed down considerably.
Well, Brian, you mentioned that the church has some of that land. They spoke about that today, putting out a statement saying they actually support this. I'm paraphrasing here. But I want to get your take on this. You have been covering events and sessions on the Hill for just a few years now. You like how I worded that? So
only about 3 decades on and off. But
only a few years. You just put it out there for me. So, Brian, tomorrow's a big day, right? We have the culmination of the session, and the clock is ticking, as you mentioned. A bill like this.
Yes.
Is this an 11th hour bill before the clock strikes midnight sort of scenario?
It's a good question. I think everybody here who has been pushing this would love to have this done a lot sooner than midnight tomorrow night. But how long will it go? We don't know. We asked about this yesterday, said that the bill was being worked on, asked about it today, said it's being refined. Not sure exactly what needs to happen in order for this measure, Senate Bill 272, to pass the House. It flew through the Senate, but it's been in the House and it has gone nowhere essentially for 2 days. And as you mentioned, the clock is ticking. So midnight tomorrow night is the final hour, the final moment of this session. And will there be a hockey bill? Don't know. And I think everybody would love to have a little bit of cushion here. Get this done by like noon tomorrow, and to the governor, by the end of the day. I don't know if that's going to happen. Nobody was making predictions today. When I asked the Senate president, do the Jazz leave if this bill doesn't happen? He said no one is predicting, but we're working hard to make sure they don't. We'll see.
All right, we'll see, Bri. We'll see what tomorrow brings. It's a new day, and it's a big day on Utah's Capitol Hill. Thanks for joining us for the insight on 2 News Live, as always. So also weighing in on the potential NHL to Utah scenario, I had the chance to catch up with the Utah native and former NHL player, Daniel Brickley. We spoke while he's playing overseas right now, but he would just jump at the chance if the National Hockey League came calling for a team in Salt Lake City. How do you look back at that experience and what that was like for you to play, for an NHL team in Salt Lake City? Like that's not really a thing, at least now. Yeah. It could be in the future. How would you describe looking back at that years later now?
Honestly, it was incredible because I never thought, Utah doesn't have an NHL team. And as a kid growing up, if you're playing hockey, your main goal is to make it to the NHL and then win the Stanley Cup. But it never really ever crossed my mind that I'd be, make the NHL 1, 2, get to play in my hometown in front of all my friends and family. And so to have that opportunity was unbelievable. And the turnout, I wasn't sure what the turnout would be coming into it, but it was great. It was pretty sure it was sold out, and it was the ice wasn't that great. It was a little hot, but it was a fun experience, and it was just incredible to see and have that opportunity to go play in front of my friends and family, like I said.
When you first heard that maybe there's a possibility the NHL comes to Utah, what came to mind?
I don't think anything really came to mind except excitement. I had some doubts. I see both sides to it. I would love to see that, and for a couple of reasons. One, it would help grow Utah for like jobs, new development on that side of things. Two, it might help the younger generation get involved into hockey. And just the downside to that is, I know they're saying because of Arizona, that's who they're trying to buy it from and get them to come up here, relocate. My only con with this is, as you were saying, with the Utah Grizzlies, they don't sell out. The attendance issue. I know Utah's growing population-wise, but out of that population, what is that percentage who like hockey and would go? And I'm going to refer to when Vegas was coming into the NHL. A lot of people were, saying, well, Vegas is, a gambling city, and, no one wants to go and see a hockey game or whatever. And it, when push comes to shove, is a lot of those fans who ended up going, a lot of them are season ticket holders now. And that game is jam-packed.
As somebody who has been in the NHL, grew up in Utah playing hockey, is now overseas playing hockey, and obviously the kid in you would love to see it here. If you could tell Ryan something from your perspective about what it would take to put the NHL in Utah, what would you share with him if you could have that conversation?
That's a heavy question. What would I tell him? Man, honestly, to keep on pushing. I know he loves hockey, and to believe in it, and believe in himself, and if he has a plan, that plan can be successful and make it happen. That's what I tell him, because I want to see it. I want to see it happen.
All right, Daniel joined us while we were here about 2 o'clock local time. It was after 10 o'clock local time in Sweden when we had this conversation yesterday. If you didn't pick up on it, he played for the Kings in Utah for one of those Frozen Fury games they have at the Delta Center. So he got to play in front of his hometown fans and family, something he'll never forget. A lot more from that conversation to come. We'll get a full version up on YouTube at some point. Stay with 2 News for the latest development on plans to bring an NHL arena and the team to Salt Lake City. Also redevelopment and all of these bills we've discussed. You can also read our past coverage and our prior reporting on our website, KUTV.com. I've seen some of our meteorologists get out and play some pond hockey. Are you that guy?
I would be that guy if I had someone to play with. I'd be down.
Trent Parker.
I'd be down.
He's your guy.
All right.
Trent Parker, he's not here right now out of frame, but he would be turning around looking at you like, oh yeah, bring it on.
Why not? All right, so I wanted to crunch the numbers, give you some data here, nerd out a little bit here, show you the numbers. It hasn't been that snowy in the valleys this season, especially when you compare it to last year during the month of February, 21 inches. This February, only 4.6 inches.
Boy.
But we're going to start to see some changes as we head into the weekend. But also looking at the rain, that's what we've been kind of making up for. Yeah, we haven't seen that much snow here in Salt Lake during the month of February, but February has been very rainy, 3.37 inches. That's well above normal there, normal 1.3 for the month. So at least we're kind of catching up in that respect. But it's been the 5th wettest month on record for February and the 9th warmest. So warm and wet month. And as you can see, well below average in terms of snowfall, but we might make up for it For the month of March, we're looking at some significant snow that is looking more and more likely for the mountains, and then now finally for the valleys as well. Out ahead of it, though, we've got a first alert weather day for Saturday and Sunday now, with some wind gusts exceeding 60 to 65 miles per hour heading into tomorrow and Saturday. How much snow are we looking at? Well, doing fairly well with this system. This could also be the snowiest storm of this season as well, as we only really need to pick up 3.9 inches, and right now we're forecasting anywhere from about 2 all the way up to 6. The Wasatch Back will even do pretty well here, 4 to 8 inches through the benches as well, with the Wasatch Back seeing some similar conditions here. So for right now, we're dry, no snow, no rain, nothing out there, 60 degrees. In St. George and across the state, we are well above normal, or well above what we were at yesterday at this time, 10 to 12 degrees, in fact. 57 in Milford, down into Cedar City at 52, 65 in St. George. Here's a cold front. It's a powerful one. You can actually see some convection out ahead of it. You're going to see some thunder snow into northern portions of Idaho. Here at home, we're dry across the state. We don't really see anything until late tomorrow night. Yes, we start to deal with the winds now through tonight, but late tomorrow night is when we start to see some showers up towards the north, some mountain light snow, kind of sporadic here as we head into the evening and into Saturday morning. But notice still fairly dry Saturday morning. It's as the cold front pushes through the area middle of the day, we get a nice burst of snow from about noon through about 5 p.m. Heavy snow along the Cache Valley floors, all the way down in along the Wasatch Front, Wasatch Back. Everyone getting in on the action, even down into central and southern portions of the state. And then back out towards 9 p.m. we start to taper things off a little bit here, but still dealing with some heavy snow into central Utah. We continue to see some quiet conditions, but as we head into Sunday morning, we might get another round, another burst of some snow. So it looks like a pretty decent storm right now. In general, as I mentioned, probably up to about 4 or 5 inches or so here along the Wasatch Front. So we'll watch out for that. For right now, we get ready for a cold night, 40s and 30s. St. George here, we've got that windy weather for you as well, with some showers as we head into the weekend, drying out into next week. And then again, we've got that first alert weather forecast for your Saturday and Sunday, and that dropping temperature there, that 52, you see that arrow right there? 52, that'll actually be the high that will occur early in the day, probably right before lunchtime, with falling temperatures into the afternoon.
It's now 2 this weekend.
That's right.
It once was 1.
That's right. Just
and
like
it's now
7
2.
day.
All right. I know.
Plus
I like
2,
it here.
baby.
Plus 2 weather alerts,
Yeah.
plus 2 at the end. See what we did there? Thank you, Sean. Remember to download our 2 News weather app to know about the changes in your neighborhood. You can get the updated forecast, the live radar, the Follow Me feature. Love it on the app, which is free to download. Hey, thanks for hanging with us for 2 News Live. If you missed any of our riveting conversation today, you can find it on our YouTube channel in the live section. I apologize. I will not see you tomorrow.
You're not going to be here tomorrow.
I'm not going to be here tomorrow.
All right.
I'm taking a piece of your playbook and I'm going to go
Hit the slopes?
hit the slopes,
All
baby.
right. All right.
All right. Maybe I'll see some of you out there. Have a great night. I will see you on Monday. Have a wonderful Friday. Great weekend. Be safe out there and keep it locked to 2 News as that front moves in and changes your weekend. Man, it could get dicey. See ya.